want the ultimate price-performance gaming PC, then look no further. This is a build all about unstoppable gaming performance while keeping costs as low as possible. And yet, this is still very much a PC that's not only good looking, has plenty of RGB, but is pretty much an all-round performer that you really can be proud of. This computer is based around the Ryzen 3700X, the 8-core CPU that excels across the board, whether it's gaming, streaming, or pretty much anything else. AMD sent this out as part of their review kit, and it's a really popular choice at the moment for not only fans of Team Red, but those that just want a fantastic all-round performer. And normally at this point I'd tell you that the downside of these chips is that you're going to have to buy an extortionately expensive motherboard. But not this time. After weeks of waiting, my sample of the MSI X570-A Pro has arrived. And this is one of the cheapest X570 motherboards that I think you can find right now. Sure, it's not got as many features as some others, but there's not really anything that would stop me going down this route, as it's basic but attractive, and has all of the features that I personally would be looking for, like support for multiple PCIe SSDs, decent I/O, and addressable RGB headers. But do be aware that there isn't a USB-C header for use on higher end cases, but you do have one on the back I/O, so it's not really the end of the world. And the case that we are using here doesn't actually have USB-C on the top, so this doesn't really matter, but it's a great opportunity to talk about it because I think this is one of the best cases right now you can get if you want something that looks a little bit different, but isn't too big, isn't too small, and it's just an all-round great performing package. It's available in black or white, and the chassis is pretty much all about the essentials, and yes, of course that means RGB lighting. Now Corsair actually sent this out a couple of months back, and I really like its compact size, rather snazzy front panel, and the included RGB fans, the new SP Pros. And Corsair also included an additional box of these fans that I would add into the build, but I'd say that to keep costs down you only really need to add a single fan at the rear, as this will just make it look a little bit neater and tidier. But at this stage you're probably itching to know about the graphics card, the thing that you'll be using to drive all of these games at ultra settings, or in my case just running wallpaper engine in the background, and I know everyone always asks about this. Video is linked in the top right hand corner of your screen. This graphics card is a fantastic choice if you're looking at high refresh rate 1080p or even a bit of 1440p gaming, as unless you're playing at 4K, there's really not a lot that this card can't handle. It was Powercolor that sent out their rather understated Red Dragon for this video, which seems very well built, reasonably compact, and absolutely no slouch in the gaming department, as you'll see from the benchmark shortly. I also love that there's a BIOS switch located at the top of the card, and you can use this to choose between a quiet mode and an OC mode without any software or tweaking required whatsoever. But pricing and availability is, in classic AMD fashion, a little bit up in the air at the moment, so make sure that you are getting this at a good price, rather than one that's flummoxed by low stock counts and you could maybe step up to the XT without spending a whole lot more money. But to keep the performance as high as possible, we're going for some super fast PCIe storage with this rig, Samsung's 970 EVO Plus. Samsung sent out both the PCIe and SATA SSD options for these builds, and in my eyes it is a pretty easy choice as to which to go for. If you're just getting into PC gaming, or you don't have that many games on the go at once, then you should go down the PCIe route and gain faster boot times and slightly higher responsiveness across the board. But if you need the capacity though, you could go for something like the 860 EVO. You get a very similar level of system speed, but you'll just have more space for your favourite games. Either way, there's no right or wrong option, just note that it is easier to add SATA storage to an NVMe boot drive rather than having to move Windows around if you do it the other way round. RAM's not the most exciting component in the world, but it is at least very easy to get RGB these days, and it's not actually that much more expensive than it used to be. I typically tend to recommend a whole range of options, as long as its speed is over 3000 MHz, to be honest, you should be set. With this iCUE system though, it does make a whole lot of sense to look at the Corsair Vengeance Pro. Again, this was sent out by Corsair. 16GB is more than enough for gaming, and it really will work great for workloads too. The kit runs at a speedy 3200 MHz, which should allow us to squeeze as much performance as possible from our CPU. And speaking of which, you may have noticed at this stage that we're not using an aftermarket cooler. I know. Because, to be honest, if you're spending $1,250, you may as well just use the stock Ryzen cooler for a bit. It looks pretty neat, and yes, it's not exactly silent and you can't overclock it so far, but it's so easy to fit and then remove that it can happily wait on your motherboard for another month or so until you hit your next paycheck. And hey, maybe the noise doesn't actually bother you, and maybe you're not going to overclock. An aftermarket cooler isn't an essential bit of the puzzle, you know. Unlike the last piece, which is absolutely essential, a power supply. And this case is asking for something a bit more modular, as there's not really many places to stash your cables, so I'm using Cooler Master's MWE Gold 650 watts. And I received my sample for a prior build. I've moved this into this one because, to be honest, there's just not really that much to complain about. It's quiet enough, efficient, and it's got enough juice for pretty much any single GPU system that you're not going to need to worry about any upgrades you might do in the future. But before we talk about upgrades, we probably should talk about the build process, which was remarkably simple. And this is why I really like this case, because it's small enough that you can have it on your desk and it's not going to dwarf it and take up far too much space. But then when it comes to actually building in it, it's seamless. I think it took me around about an hour and a half, which, bearing in mind I'm actually filming it at the same time, is remarkably good. Everything just slots into place, and I don't really have too many things to complain about. I'd say that if you've never built a PC before, then this is actually a great starter case for you. The 220T fit everything inside it that I needed to without any real hassle. The only thing that I'm going to point out is that in terms of 3.5-inch hard drives, you might have a little bit of trouble if you have an overly long power supply, if you've got a load of cables to manage, or if you're putting a large radiator in the front of the case. So if you're wanting to kit this out with a load of different RGB systems and loads of thick custom cables and things, to be honest, I don't really think this is going to be the case for you unless you're happy to remove the hard drives entirely. But if you do want a really clever way to actually save yourself some money when you're doing your shopping for these parts at no extra cost to you, then you can check out this video's sponsor, Pouch. Pouch is a completely free browser extension that searches the web from over 3,000 UK stores and then automatically applies voucher codes without you having to lift a finger, and it saves you both time and money. It is so easy to install, and it requires no logging in, any accounts to set up. Simply go to the link in the description, hit add, and that's it. Welcome to the money saving club. This has been incredibly useful for me because I'm moving to the new house. I seem to be buying furniture at every available opportunity, and with Pouch it can automatically save me money without me having to do anything at all. Just shop as usual. With Pouch, all I need to do is find the products that I like, add them to my basket, and then the best voucher codes will be automatically applied. Here I'm saving almost 10% on my fancy lighting, and if I do choose to pull the trigger on a new TV, Pouch even has a code for me for up to £100 off. And okay, not every site will have codes that will work, but Pouch will tell you this, and you'll know that you're getting the best price. Check out Pouch at the link featured down below. And now the bit that you've been waiting for. Benchmarks and performance. Put simply, this machine is a winner. Capable of cranking out ultra settings gameplay at 1080p, 1440p, and even a bit of 4K. The 1080p numbers are a clear indication that you can pair this with a high refresh rate monitor and then reap the rewards, as even at max settings we're getting over 100 FPS average in the major multiplayer titles. Crank up the visuals to 1440p, and I'd say that this is the real sweet spot, especially if you pair this with a FreeSync monitor. Apex Legends even managed over 100 FPS once again, so I'd say that you're going to get the most out of this system if you lower a couple of settings and then invest in a 1440p 144Hz screen with FreeSync. Now 4K gaming isn't really what this card is designed for, but if you're more of a worker come casual gamer, then I wouldn't hesitate to grab a 4K panel, use it for all of your workloads and everything that you want to make look pretty, but then when it comes to gaming, lower down some of the settings and aim for a smooth 60fps 4K experience, and this will work especially well if you're playing older titles or maybe those that are a bit less intensive. But having said that, 44fps at ultra settings in Battlefield 5 at 4K really isn't too shabby for a price performance gaming rig. And so there we have it. Everything I think you need to know about this system. It looks good, it performs well, and the price is very reasonable. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments below. Would you build this, or would you change it, swap it out, different case maybe, different GPU? I'd love to hear from you, and if you do want to check out current pricing, as always you can find this linked in the description down below. I really hope you've enjoyed this video though. If you have, hit the like button, it really helps out so much you really wouldn't believe. Of course, get subscribed for more builds just like this. We've actually got so many coming up, and I would hate for you to miss them. But if you want to see some more now, because you can't wait, you can find these linked in the end screen. Massive thank you for you guys checking out this video. I will see you in the next one.